Okay, let's welcome our audience. Welcome to the Ready Set Gemini podcast. I am your host, Dan Mora, and directly across from me,
Co-host over here, Frank Smithson.
Yeah, so Frank, what are you thankful for? So we're just coming off of Thanksgiving weekend, and we should give some thanks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, family is fantastic. My mom is doing absolutely great. She's doing a bunch of work around her house, getting stuff done, which is definitely a blessing. We lost my father, a little while back here, and obviously going through a grieving process. But she's like on top of it now, getting stuff knocked out.
That's great to hear.
It's been pretty cool. And then Gemini is just amazing. I mean, it's what really allows me to have interactions like I do with everybody around me. And so super happy for Gemini and excited for the future. Just big things happening all the time. All the time. So
yeah, thankful. I'm thankful for her health. That's a big, for sure. I can imagine, or I can't imagine, but I'm sure that your family's still going through a lot of grieving, especially during this time. All the holidays not having him. So yeah, I'm thankful too for this place, Gemini. It's been it's a blessing. It's very grateful for a lot of things. We had a huge household of family over for Thanksgiving, so
nice.
That was no injuries, no drama. So I'm thankful for that. So today we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to do a book review, and this is the book called New Strategic Thinking. This is a pretty pivotal book for me. I know there's the reason I want to review it. There's quite a few aha moments for me as I read this book. And so wanted to kind of dive into it a little bit deeper, let our audience know, give our audience a little bit of insight to how we think as a company, and what we can impart, what we can give, what we can share that is helped us be successful.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of what's in that book has definitely laid some groundwork for Gemini to operate on.
Yeah. So do you remember how this was introduced to us?
I feel like it was a George Beardsley thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like really early on. The driving force piece was, I think, probably the most pivotal component that really has allowed us to stay focused. And it all is kind of intertwined with vision and things like that too. But maybe for the audience, you can give them what are the main pieces of the book that are important to communicate?
Yeah, so a couple things. Like I'm a big believer in reading, because I think that this is the closest you're going to get to the actual knowledge, the base of the knowledge from these experts in their field.
Sure.
This author, Michel Robert, is a French guy, as you might imagine with the name, but he's a strategic coach, and there's several high-profile companies in here that he worked with in order to develop this methodology.
Mm-hmm.
The book itself, I give to, it's actually the first book that I try to have my executives or anybody in leadership read. I have a leaders required reading chart, and this is really the foundation. This is the book that I give, because it sets the table for everything else. For me, reading this book was the biggest aha, was to clarify the vision.
Okay.
And I just remembered that. I remember reading this, and it goes into why vision is important. And I was like, yes. And so I'm going to go there real quick. But it says that a vision bonds, a vision inspires, a vision is an anchor, a vision is a potent competitive tool. A vision must be compelling, it must be distinctive, and it must be consistent. And when I read that, I was struck, and that's when I started to author our vision, mission, and our core values, and this was in probably 20.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long were you operating without having a vision?
many years.
Yeah.
And I've had semblances of a mission statement, but not really a vision statement. And I've had semblances of what was a vision. And it's interesting how it took shape. Back then it was, I almost hesitated to describe what I thought we were good at, what we thought we should be good at. It was almost like I wanted people to experience what Gemini was.
Sure. Without telling them what we were.
Right. And that's the mistake. That was the mistake that I read in here in the aha moment. Sins, the 10 deadly sins that lead to strategic malaise. Sin number 1, strategy by osmosis.
Yeah.
So people can't implement a strategy that has not been revealed to them. Sin number 2, strategy in isolation. People don't implement what they don't understand. 3, and a couple of these are, sin number 3 is outsourcing the strategy to an outside consultant. Which is really great. I mean, it's a great lesson. It's a great point. Don't outsource your thinking to an outside consultant. And this book identifies strategic thinking, and that's the name of it. And it says that the vision and strategy are uniquely tied together. Mm-hmm. This vision is what, and the strategy is how.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, things that come to my mind when I'm thinking of our clients, the applicant attorney, and how one applicant attorney is supporting an area, geographical region, and then right next door they have another applicant attorney supporting another geographical region. And this is all over California. So you have, a couple thousand law firms. They're all doing the same thing, working within the same system. So I remember when we were young, like, all these copy services do the same thing.
Yeah.
How can a vision set you apart when we're all doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Any words to wisdom to that, Dan?
Well, I believe that no two visions are the same. I believe that vision is very unique to the person.
100% agree.
And I believe too that when you are going through the exercise of executing a vision, it becomes really personal. So you have a personal vision and you have a personal path to implementing that vision. And it's not, I had this, what I'd call now a healthy paranoia for people stealing those types of things, the vision and
Sure.
the ways of doing things. And I realized how unique, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's ego involved too. Again, it's very personal. And I think business owners they want to beat the next guy. I mean, that's the object of competition. You have an injured worker, as you pointed out, you have an injured worker in a geographic area. How do you attract them to your business? And then how do you make them stay?
And how do you get the employees that are supporting them excited about the work that they do and focused on carrying out that vision?
Yeah. So the commoditization, what you're talking about is kind of commoditization of a service or a product. And I think that is absolutely my job. I know it's my job, and I know it's the job of every business owner, every executive to fight that. The commoditization of copy service needs to be fought. I have to work really hard in order to make it unique, and that's pretty important. Making it unique. There's a quote in here that I really like, and it just says that copying other people's strategy is not a strategy.
And what's interesting is we've seen in our industry people try to do that, and it's not successful.
So I think when you so if I've gone through this exercise of I have a vision and I have a way. I know some theories about business, and it talks about this too, that you have to set up these theories of business and what's right for business and what do you feel is important and theoretically important about a business. That then attaches to this vision. and it becomes unique, but then you have to, as I said, it has to be public. And that was the aha moment. I had all this kind of in my brain and that sort of thing. But what, again, was the aha moment is to make it very, very public to my employees, again, so that they could attach to it, so that they could be compelled by it. Really, really obviously important. Be distinctive, be consistent, be compelling. Vision is an anchor. It's a tool, a competitive tool. It inspires and it bonds. If you can hit all those marks, then you're going to differentiate yourself in the market.
I think if I was to look at a couple of the specific things that a vision can do, one of the things that I've found is really helped Gemini is this anchoring concept. Like, you go out into the world and you have a bunch of clients and they're all asking for different things. But to really stay focused to executing on your vision, it's not easy to do when you have everybody trying to pull you in different directions.
Yeah.
And what that creates is this like chaotic dispersion of resource.
Right.
And you try to get stuff done, but nothing happens, right? So take the energy and focus it where it belongs. Like, make sure that it's pointed towards that vision. I think that would help anybody, especially people that are new, or even if you've been in business for a long time. There's some vendors that recently have shared, I'm not going to mention the name of the product, but they shared a product with us, and I saw this product and I was like, wow, this thing has a ton of potential. And then they started talking about how this particular product can help, in this area, in this area, in this area. And as soon as I started hearing that, I was like, wow, the product's not going to help anybody because you're so distracted with all these different places that it's just going to get stuck in stalemate for a long time. So if they had the focus and they can kind of rein things back in and really stick to a specific vision, which they didn't have a vision, I think it would have benefited that company specifically. And so attorneys, how do we get attorneys to start thinking like, hey, I do need a vision?
Well, I think vision shouldn't be overlooked, like even from the micro. So I think families should have a vision. I think we should have a personal vision, right? We work on this together, you and I, and just with all of our peers and our subordinates and teammates. What is your personal vision? We have a vision, or what we call purpose statement, for each department, which is pretty important.
Product vision.
So as a family, I think vision, you just shouldn't neglect it.
Agreed.
As an attorney business owner, do you have a personal vision? Is your business serving that? Do you have a vision for your family? Is your business's vision in alignment with that? And then you look beyond, which is really important. Does the industry support that vision? I highlighted several things in here that I thought was really pretty cool, but it outlines, it takes apart your vision and your strategy, and just says, what about the cost of the vision? What about the people and the materials that are available to you, the equipment that's available to you, the research and marketing, legal promotion? Just kind of, there's this checklist, and it's not infinite. But if you consider these things and how they meet, your strategy is an executed version of your vision, or it's a plan for how to execute that vision. Did you take into account all of these different factors that are going to play into and support your vision? And then how do you navigate around them, or how do you navigate through them?
Yeah. So it's a lot to unpack. I think the book is definitely something that they got to read, and then it's not like an overnight type of thing. It's more like a crawl, walk, run.
It's very progressive.
Write something down. At least get a vision, share it with your people, get some feedback.
Yeah.
And what about driving force? Is there some communication there about driving force?
Yeah, for sure. That was another thing that and Frank, for the audience that doesn't know, we went through a strategic planning session for a couple of years. We had a mentor that met with us weekly, and this book was introduced to Frank as well. The progression of this book, or the progression of how this thing has evolved at Gemini, one of the more important things is the driving force.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just a way. It's what is your strategy based on, and it also takes into account your vision, takes into account your what you're good at. A great example that I like to use for driving force is what we were really good at as a company when I first started to research this was what I call distributed scanning. We're out in the field scanning. We were good at sending people out in the field and going and scanning documents. And that is a competency driving force that I thought was okay. Well, maybe that's what we need to be focusing on. Who else needs distributed scanning services? And what came to mind at that time, hospitals, they have archived records that needed to be scanned, attorneys, and you have old files that needed to be scanned.
I'm just, in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, like Gemini could have gone a completely different direction. We could have been Psyox, like based on that
or Iron Mountain. Yeah. Definitely was. I was even like playing with the idea of doing destruction and getting a big shredder and getting into that. And through all that exploration and through this learning, in this book, there's a section called Finding Your Driving Force. And what we've decided on as a driving force and have outlined in our strategic documents is that our driving force is a user class.
Yes.
So our driving force is attorneys and law offices. And the idea is that we provide everything that we can is to a degree to a law office and an attorney. So our driving force is a user class as opposed to a specific competency.
Sure.
Right?
So some companies will not necessarily focus specifically on a user class and instead want to support everyone. And what you end up with if you have that as a strategy, which, you can have any number of these driving forces, and as long as you stick to it and you make sure that that's the right for your target audience, you're going to do fine. But some companies out there, for example, Clio, Mayor's Case is another good example. These are case management systems. Clio came into the industry saying, I'm going to build a lightweight case management system that anybody can use. So whoever wants to use my product will use the product. Mayor's Case came into the industry saying, hey, I'm going to support a very specific user class, which is the work comp attorney. And so all of the energy was built onto building that case management system specifically for a worker. And you can tell you have like the forms that are specific to the courts, and all of the language in there is very specific to work comp. Where if you went to Clio, it would be, legal speak that can be generic. What we've seen with Mayor's Case is they've kind of started to go, all right, well now I'm going to just try to like sell it to anybody who can buy it. And they're in multiple states throughout the United States. But what has that done is it's detracted from the progression of the work comp system. So now you have that. I don't know if I would call it stale, but it's not moving at the pace that it was when they got into the industry. So their user class has actually shifted.
Yeah, that's a really important. Yeah, you're right.
But they're probably not focused on this concept of user class, and that's why that was allowed to happen. What would have been different if they, would have stuck with that versus, this new path? Not to say that they're not being successful in the new direction, but
yeah, and I think that people maybe they think about this as maybe a capability or what they're good at, with a hedgehog concept. What can you be the best in the world at? These 10 driving forces. You have a company or a strategy surrounded around a product or service, a strategy with the user class, a strategy of category of market types, technology, a production capability, sales or marketing method, distribution method, natural resources, size and growth, or return on profit. So those are the user class perspectives. But in general, our clients, anybody that's listening to this, can think about it as a way to focus, as a way to focus their strategy. What is your strategy focused on?
Yep.
Right.
I think it's super valuable. I think taking the time and energy to dig into that, understand it, to build those systems for yourself is going to make your business much more successful. Don't think that it can come quick though. Like that's the piece. Like you got to read the book and you got to put energy into it. It's not like,
well, there's like so many more concepts in here. The one thing that that I love, and this is going to feed into one of our questions, and it has to do with kind of competition, is that the reason that you do a vision, the reason that you have vision, the reason that you have a strategy is to dominate your market.
sure.
That's the reason, is to dominate the market. So this is really fun because it talks about, how does that work? How do you dominate a market? There's several little nuggets in here that I will not reveal, but
We'll read the book and you'll figure them out yourself.
yeah. One of them though is to be ahead always. This is to always be ahead, and you're inventing the market as you go along. You're creating the rules in the market. Not an easy task, of course, and all of these things are very difficult to think through and execute.
Is this the sandbox concept?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So how do you make the rules in the sandbox is the question. And the people that make the rules are the ones that are going to be ahead because they can respond to the rules. The other thing, another point in here, says structure follows strategy, which I think is if we think about it in those terms, Frank, and where we're at as a company, think about the structure that we've developed and how long it's taken for us to develop that structure.
Still in progress.
Hugely in progress. But the structure is what supports then, it's what supports everything. It's structure, it's foundational, that thing. So, yeah. Yeah, so the question, kind of one of the questions, where are we concerned about competitors? And I'm really not, and it goes back to the concept of vision and the uniqueness of vision, and really just ego. And I hate this. I don't mean it that way, but
yeah. I kind of want to like publish our entire leadership books. Anybody who wants to read it, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Like I'm skeptical on how many people will actually pick up the books and read them.
Yeah, there's a funny ad on the radio that says that 90% of salespeople will never read a sales book in their entire career.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is interesting. I was listening to something recently, and it was the Walton family, Sam Walton, Walmart, is the richest family in the United States. Mm-hmm. And Sam Walton used to, when he had one store, he'd come to the store and they'd have their morning meeting, and he would ask everyone if they read anything significant, since last time they met. And he kept saying this, that reading is kind of it's the synthesis of knowledge of these particular experts in their area. Why would you not go after that? Why would you not try to be influenced and try to at least understand and gain nuggets of knowledge and wisdom from people that have already done what you've done,
And on top of that, you got Dan Mora, who's leading the #1 copy service in work comp, who's already read the book, telling you, hey, this is a good one to check out.
It's the one.
Why not?
I give this is the first book I give to new leadership, so that they understand the value of vision, the value of strategy, and the value of structure, and the value of competitive rules of the sandbox.
So pick up a copy, read the book.
Or don't. That's okay with me.
I'd love, what I would love personally is, a month from now, we're starting to get some comments in from somebody who actually read the book and maybe is telling us how they've been able to execute these types of things in their law office and the value they're seeing out of it. That would be justification that this podcast is, thumbs up.
Yeah. I'm encouraged. I know that there's, as we've demonstrated success, there's been several of our attorney clients that have been very complimentary about what we've done and how we've done it. Mm-hmm. And I'm, hopefully those are the ones. Those are the ones I like. I want to keep I hope they read this. Yeah, you're right. I want them to read this. I really do. I think that it'll help. Yeah. And again, it's you can apply it to micro to your personal vision and to your personal strategy and your family and your family's vision and your family's strategy. It's not just for business. So
yeah, I think that's definitely good to have. What you've been able to accomplish here at Gemini is to take the culture that we've set, which is this culture of learning, and being able to apply it to our people at home, and it makes a big impact. And I think it makes an impact not only in their homes, but when they come to work, they're a lot happier too, because everything is just in sync. It's like a well-rounded life.
Yeah, and I theorize, I'm kind of a theory person, but I theorize that you have like 3 distinct areas of our life. And one is that we're trying to enrich, and I think it's personal. We're trying to enrich ourselves. We're trying to enrich our professional ability per se, our ability to support our family, our ability to give back. And then the third is the communal, and we're trying to improve our ability to give back to our communities and teach our communities. It's always been kind of foundational. Even before I read this, it was our annual awards, words. I gave one for
communal enrichment,
personal enrichment, one for professional enrichment, one for communal enrichment. So you're right. The extension of what we learn to our families is pretty darn important.
Yeah. So here's the mission for Gemini. The will and hope of Gemini is to embrace and meet our clients' true needs by providing a safe, stable, and competitive work environment where employees, clients, and vendors enrich their community and themselves personally and professionally. We meet our challenge through principled personal leadership. So I like that the mission goes beyond just the people at work, and it's like everything around us.
Yeah.
And then our vision, for you would like to hear it. Gemini's vision and opportunity is to earn respect as the leading provider of ethical, quality legal support products and services to a growing number of attorneys and types of law.
Yeah. Thanks for reading that.
Yeah.
Well, again, ask our audience to provide us some feedback, some comments, some likes, some subscribes. We're eager to hear from you.
Definitely. And read the book.
Read the book. Yeah. Tell us what you think. All right. Well, thanks, Frank. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dan.